That's a lot of money. So basically, the impact that has is that the salary cap is going to go up. It was about $63 million this past season. It's going to be, I believe it's $80 million. Well, first it's going to take a minor jump this season to $67 million, so from 63 to 67. The year after that, it's going to be $89 million, and then the year after that, it's going to be $108 million. So you're seeing a jump from $63 million last year to $108 million in 2 years. And that's just a huge, huge jump. I mean, we're talking more than a 50% increase in salary cap. So when you start looking at some of these deals that guys are going to be getting, especially guys this year as they're still under the old salary cap, because the NBA has maximum salaries capped at between 25 and 35% of the salary cap, depending on your experience. When you see some of these guys like Jimmy Butler, like Kawhi Leonard, even like DeMar Carroll for Atlanta, when you see the deals that they're going to get now, it's going to be completely different how much that's going to attract the team when this new deal takes place. Basically, the way I equated it, a deal that's going to be $16 or $17 million in 2017, it's going to have the same impact as, say, a $10 or $11 million deal has now. So you're going to see probably some big money deals handed out now, but in reality, they're going to be steals.
Yeah, ultimately, how will this affect Sam Hinkie and the Sixers in terms of if they are a team that is able to be a part of free agency after next year? They haven't signed any free agents since really what was the last big free agent they signed? Elton Brand. Does this mean that they're going to be able to spend more money and be able to attract more high-level free agents?
Well, I think the immediate conclusion is right now, I think a lot of people assume that Sam Hinkie has no real interest in signing a free agent right now. I don't think that's necessarily true because, like I said, some of these guys, they're going to be such deals. What Sam Hinkie wants, he wants value. So if you look at a guy, not Kawhi Leonard, not Jimmy Butler, because they're going to be matched, but even like I said, a guy like DeMar Carroll, you have a chance to get him on the cheap. Even a guy like Danny Green, something like that. You can get these guys for cheap and lock them in. I think that would make it more likely that Sam would go out there and try to strike now, because really, the NBA is basically artificially limiting what these guys can make, and it's going to these guys are going to be way more expensive in a couple of years. But the same token is teams like Golden State's not going to let Draymond Green might have the best contract in the NBA in 2 or 3 years because of this. They're not going to let him go just because they're going to spend luxury tax. Chicago is going to find a way to keep Jimmy Butler because they know too that these deals are going to be extremely cheap. If you have to bite the bullet and pay a year of luxury tax, you have to find a way to do that. So I think it would make Sam a little more desirous to go out there and try to actually use free agency. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to because, like I said, all these other teams are going to see that national TV deal and adjust their thinking as well.
Derek, real quick, let's look at some of the players out here. Dario Saric voted the second in the EuroLeague Rising Star Bout. He was the 12th pick here. Just got to put a bow on what his season was like and possibly what the Sixers could be getting, maybe not next year, but the year after. Yeah, and
to be honest, I talked to a lot of people over there in Europe who follow the European game very closely, and they were kind of surprised he didn't win it. And this is the award given to basically people under 22 years of age. Bogdan Bogdanovic, he was a Suns draft pick, has now won it 2 years in a row. Nikola Mirotic with the Bulls won it 2 years in a row as well. So the guys who have won this they have a pretty good track record in the NBA. So for Dario to finish second, it's a good it's a good verification of what he is and what he is as a prospect. What I liked about Dario's game, he doesn't play all that many minutes. He plays 20, 25 minutes a lot of nights because he's playing on a pretty deep team. But over the last 10 games, his three-point shot really came along, and that's going to be big for him. He shot 32% from three last year. He was in the low 30s to start this year. Over the last 10 or so games, he was shooting about 40% from three. And for a guy with his vision, you really want him to be able to stretch the court from the 4 spot, and that was a big development in his game. But he was making impacts all over the place. He was making impact, facing up and driving the ball to the hoop. He's pretty relentless driving to the hoop. He rebounded extremely well down the stretch. He's an incredible passer, and he was making that shot. So he's really becoming an all-around player. And I think he's going to be some guy. I don't think he's coming over this summer, so I think you have to kind of, temper your excitement. But I do think he's a piece to get excited about.
As you mentioned in your piece, the other Sixers draft pick, Joel Embiid, it appears that it is set in stone now that he will play in the summer, and obviously that's big news to see him out there. When does the Summer League start? When can we expect to see him? And is he any further along than he was when the team was still playing games?
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten a whole lot of access to him since the season ended. I don't know firsthand. Really what we're going off of is Scott O'Neal saying that he would play on Breakfast on Broad, and Arn Tellem, his agent, basically saying the same thing yesterday. He sounds like he's actually playing basketball and not just going through drills, so that's good. Summer League starts in early July. They're going to be in Vegas, and they're going to be in Utah with the Rocky Mountain Review starting back up. They're not going to be in Orlando, but they're going to once again be in 2 summer leagues, and those are going to be in the first half of July.
Derek, I think everybody's anticipating the draft. The 19th is the night of the draft, right? That's the ping pong balls. And Brett Brown had said that's the one night a year he gets, he gets very tense, he gets very nervous. Ultimately, if he ends up 1, 2, or 3, should he be all that nervous, or do you think there is one guy that they are targeting more than the other?
Well, I think it was recently reported that something like 28 out of 30 teams had Karl Anthony Towns rated as the number 1 pick. And I do think he's the guy that they're targeting. I think he's the guy, if they win number 1, that he's the guy that they'll go with, even though he is a big man. I think he fits well with both Embiid and with Noel. I think he's to me, the prize of this draft. And I do think if they ended up number 1, then I think he's their guy. But I do think there's a lot of talent outside of him that fits. The 2 guys that I like the most being D'Angelo Russell and Mario Hezonja, and also Emmanuel Mudiay because of need and because of overall upside. And obviously, Jahlil Okafor is an incredible talent, even though he doesn't necessarily fit. So there's other options. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is the guy that is at the top of their board and is the best prospect in the draft. But I don't think it's the end of the world either if they don't get that number 1 pick.
Jordan McRae said he'll play in the summer league with the Sixers, and then the team, I guess, has to make a decision on him. Is this a guy that you think will help?
I think he'll be interesting. I don't know if he'll necessarily help. I didn't watch a whole lot of him over in Australia, so it's hard for me to really say. He can score the ball, and his perimeter shot improved. He's a little more consistent with that. He has some work to go before he can really defend it in the NBA level, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing that they have to work with him on, and the biggest question mark. He certainly has some talent, and he has some talent in an area that they need. In fact, that he can score the ball from the perimeter, from the wing. So he has a chance to make the team. He has a chance to play. We're going to have to see him become a better defender, and hopefully he got a little better with that in his time over in Australia and over with the Sevens. But he's definitely a guy that they're going to take a very good look at this summer and next fall.
All right, Derek Bodner, the NBA playoffs. Let's get some quick thoughts on you on the playoffs, obviously with the night off tonight. And we saw what Cleveland did last night. Even without Love, too much Cleveland for Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, if LeBron plays like LeBron and he plays like the best player in the game or the second best player in the game, no, I think Cleveland wins that series. If LeBron plays like he did the first game, then I think Chicago has a chance. But no, I think Cleveland wins that series.
All right, let's look at the Clippers last night. Was that just them finally coming down after that Game 7 win and then a very impressive Game 1? Houston caught them off guard last night, but is that game going to be a deep one, or do you think the Clippers too much?
I think ultimately Clippers are too much. If he's going to come down with a lot of these series, really, he's going to come down to health. Whether Chris Paul can really come back and be Chris Paul. If he can, I think they're a better team. If not, Houston has a chance. But it's probably going to come down to health, which you wish wasn't the case this late in the season.
Yeah, you talk about health and big loss possibly for Washington. Did they got any shot without Wall?
Without Wall, it's going to be very tough. And like you said, Beal, he's been injured for the better part of the second half of the season. He came down on someone's foot the other day. How much he can go, and even if he can go, how much he has left in the tank. They're definitely getting injured at the wrong time. And without Wall, I don't see much of a chance they have of winning that series.
Memphis stunner over Golden State the other night, but can Memphis make this a series?
Well, I think they'll make it a series and then it'll be competitive. If you asked me to bet, I would still make Golden State the overwhelming favorite. Curry struggled a little bit the other night, but he's such a phenomenal player, and there's such a deep team with so many different ways to beat you, both offensively and defensively. If I'm betting on Golden State. But so far it's been a competitive series, and that's what I hope for.
No games tonight. Back in action tomorrow. We'll have the games over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, 97.3 ESPN. At Derek Bodner, NBA. For more on the Sixers all season, the NBA draft and the lottery drawings come up on the 19th, NBA draft June 25th, and Derek will be all over both of those. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.